Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vero, and in today's video I'm going to be setting up my bullet journal for the month of September. If you're new here, you won't notice any difference, but if you've been here for a while, you'll notice that my hair is different. I dyed my hair pink at the ends, and if you've watched my Hot Girl Summer, Hot Bullet Journal Summer video, you'll know that one of my bucket list items was to dye my hair pink, and I actually did it. So I'm super happy and I'm completely living out my mermaid dreams right now. The pink is giving me everything about summer and I am totally obsessed with it. Anyway, let's get into this video and I hope you enjoy it.
To begin this cover page, I first drew out the letters for the word September, and I used this masking glue to cover the letters so that I could paint all of my leaves and flowers without having to worry about spacing for the shapes of the letters. Then I went in with the color green and I did various different shades of it to draw out my leaves. I also did some yellow sunflowers and I made sure to add in the stems, as well as some pink ones, some blue ones, and just a bunch of different pretty colored flowers. I made sure that at the end, when I had finished all of my flowers, to go in with another green to fill in all the blank gaps with just more green leaves so that it was really dense. So that way when I took out the masking glue, then I would have the correct form of the word September. So this is me trying to scratch off the glue. This is not easy, and later on I actually worked out it was much easier with a pair of tweezers, not my fingers, but this is just me struggling to get it all off. After removing all of the glue, I went in again with some white paint because I had smudged part of the paint all over the page when I was removing it the first time, so that was unfortunate, which kind of defeats the purpose of using the masking glue in the first place, but whatever. So my next page is my monthly log, and this time I decided to put the flowers inside of the letters, and I went with these Archer&Olive Acrylographs paint pens to try and get that effect. I wasn't exactly satisfied because the color range that I wanted for these flowers was not exactly there in the acrylographs, but it turned out pretty nice anyway. And I also put flowers and leaves at the bottom of the page underneath the calendar and the notes section to complete everything together. I think this looked very, very cool, but in the end I reverted back to some gouache paints because I had more of a control with a brush to do all of my detailings with the leaves, and I feel like the look was just more, it was softer. So I prefer using paint. However, if I was doing some block lettering, the acrylographs probably would be better there because you probably achieve a straighter line more effectively, but that was not my goal for this month, so I reverted back to my paints. If you look closely as well, on the top left of my frame, you see this cardboard piece of paper with 6 leaf designs and 4 flower designs, and this was what actually helped me with my flower and leaf placements when I was doing them on the page. It just went a lot faster when I'd already pre-drawn what I wanted them to look like somewhere else, and this just made the process a lot faster. After painting everything out, I just went in with a black fine liner and traced my calendar and my to-do section or my notes section, and that was my monthly log done. Also, I pre-cut out my tabs for this month. If you want to see what I do for cutting out tabs, you can go check out my August Plan With Me video where I go into a bit more depth, but that is what this looks like. The monthly log actually looks way better on camera than it does in real life, which is a bit disappointing for me, but for you, it's awesome. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know the next page is my habit tracker. So for this month, I decided to go with a bit of a different spread. So I really enjoyed using the big graph tracker for my steps and my screen time from August, so I kept that one around. But I just decided to merge the other habit tracker onto this page. So I have them vertically on the left side of the page. At the top, I will write the habits that I want to track, and then I will cross them out every single day in that box. And then with the steps and screen time, I will again use the same method as my August one. I'll use a Crayola Super Tip to do the bar graph, and then I'll use a black pen to mark off the screen time. I actually did make a mistake, which you'll see at the end, because I didn't leave any blank space to write out the habits that I'm wanting to track, but it's fine. I'll just white out plus
pen, and I'm sure that'll work out fine. The leaves here are my signature leaves. I do these all the time on designs and everything else, and they just look so nice. And I just incorporated other leaves into the page to make everything come together. If you ever plan to do a similar theme like this and you want to have the word habits, for example, at the top be visible, when you remove the masking fluid, then make sure you have put enough color densely around those letters, because otherwise it just doesn't look good, which was the mistake that I made, because I left too much blank space around the flowers and it just at the end kind of didn't look like it was finished. So I had to go in with a black pen to write out the word habits, which I regret in the end because it doesn't look as nice as I wanted it to look. But I mean, at the end of the day, it still looks good. I just wish I had put more color. I could totally do it after the fact, but I'm too lazy to do that now, so oh well. Anyway, let's speed through the painting process so that we get to the part where I remove the masking fluid, and then you can be the judge. Let me know in the comments, do you think it was a good idea to use a black pen to outline the word habits, or should I just have left it blank? Just for some detail information, if you're interested in recopying this spread, so I did have an outline box for both of my trackers, because when I was painting all the flowers out, I didn't want the flowers to go inside of my trackers. For the graph tracker, I did get a question about this on Instagram, so just in case you want a bit more specification on it, I have 1 to 21 on the y-axis and 1 to 30 on the x-axis, and I combine steps and screen time by using a bar graph for my steps and a dot graph for my screen time. So that's just a bit of information for you, and I hope that this is useful for you. My next spread is of course my finance tracker, and I'm starting off by drawing the boxes for my inputs, my finance inputs, and then I'm going to do the decoration after. So of course, if you are new to my channel, my finance tracker is split into 5 columns with the date, the item, the category, the cost, and then a small checkbox for me to know if I have actually included in my final calculations or not. And then I have different categories. I have 13 categories, and if you were interested in more of this information, you can go check out any of my other videos. I go into more depth in other videos. So here I decided to use the blank space, a small little square on the bottom, to draw a small little floral painting. I just wanted to incorporate my theme. Again, every single month I find it quite difficult to incorporate my theme into my finance tracker. I think this month it turned out quite nice. It's very bright, very vibrant. And then I also used my paints to do the letters. So previously in my monthly log, I used acrylographs to do the lettering, and this time I'm just using some gouache paint and a paintbrush, because I just had more control over the finer details. In the end, I don't know if it really turned out all that great, but I think it looks nice regardless. Removing the tape will always be my favorite part of the process, because seeing that straight, clean line, oh, very satisfying. Also, if somebody has any synonyms for the word satisfying, please leave them down in the comments, because I use that word far too much in all of my videos. Anyway, I was also getting bored of drawing the same flowers, so I tried to jazz it up a little bit with a rose in the middle. It kind of looks a bit weird though, does it? On the camera it looks okay. But then that turned out as a nice little pretty square, and I moved on to my letters, as I've already explained. So for the letters, I did only go in with 1 color per letter. So we have the sunflower, the blue one, the purple one, and the pink one. I don't even know what the names of these flowers are called. I only know the yellow one is a sunflower. The other ones I just kind of made up. But that's how this finance tracker turned out, and I'm very proud of it. Because it was my first time trying out this drawing gum or masking fluid, I decided to try out this little technique where instead of doing block letters, I wanted to do some cursive writing and then draw flowers around the writing. I just grabbed my masking fluid and wrote out the words gratitude and 1 line a day on the top of the page to start things off. Whilst I was waiting for the glue to dry, I used a black pen to write 1 to 30 on both sides of the page for the different logs, and then I grabbed my paints to start drawing on the flowers. I also put down some black washi tape so that I could delineate the top border from the rest of the
page, so that way it's a nice clean straight line. And as you've seen me do multiple times in this video, I got to work with my paints to draw out my different flowers. I really liked drawing the sunflower. I think it's my favorite one to paint overall in this whole month, and I drew that out a couple of times just on the one line a day page to start off with, because I think at that point my gratitude glue was still drying, so I didn't want to go in with the paints just yet. And then I added in some leaves to add in some texture and some layers. I went in with my blue flowers and I changed them up a little bit because I was getting a bit bored of the same blue flowers all over again. And each time I would just add in some depth by using a darker color or a lighter color, depending on how dark or light the first color was. And I think that this turned out really, really nice. I tried to stick with painting one color at a time because it just meant that I had to wash my brush less. It made things a little bit easier with the process and the placement of the different flowers. I added in some new flowers that I hadn't used already because I was getting, as I mentioned before, very bored of drawing the same thing over and over again. Last month with the butterfly, I felt like it was a little bit easier because, I don't know, I enjoyed drawing that, but sometimes with flowers I get a bit bored. I took the mistake that I made from the habits tracker and fixed it here, making sure that the flowers and the leaves were a lot more dense. And then finally the gratitude page had dried up, so I started with the leaves this time, and I just went in really quickly with all of my colors. Let's skip to the end so that we can see how it looks like without the masking glue. Removing the masking glue from this portion was a lot more fun than the block letters because the masking glue just peeled off by itself so naturally. I feel like I had a lot of fun. It was very satisfying trying to see the word appear as I was removing all of the glue, and unfortunately it didn't look as nice as I thought it would, but I'm still very happy with the results anyway. That being said, tape removals are always the most satisfying part of any painting. And here is one. It's so smooth, so clean, and beautiful. Okay, the last part wasn't very smooth. Let's now move on to the weekly spreads. And this first weekly spread is probably my most favorite one ever to this date, maybe? I'm not sure. Because I obviously laid down some masking glue for the block letters, and then I went in with my flowers to do my designs. And the reason I like this so much is because I actually succeeded in making the flowers super dense so that you would see the words week 35 and September. And this is a bit of a quick slow motion, why did I say slow motion? It's real time painting to show you how slowly or how long it usually takes me to paint a single flower. And as you can see, it takes a long time just to get one flower done, and usually all you see is a time lapse. But because we don't have all day, let's now move back into a time lapse to finish off the flowers. So I'm next drawing the pink ones, so they're going to be roses, and to start my roses off I actually do a pink circle as a background color, because otherwise when I'm drawing the petals of the roses, you see the white background poking through the red, which is not the desired effect. And after doing every single color of flower, I went in with my green leaves to pull everything together. And I noticed as well at the end that my weekly spreads became more flower intense, whereas my cover page was more leaf intense, which is not a very interesting fun fact, but it was for me. Anyway, let's move on. I also drew out my lines for my weekly boxes, and as you can see, after I'd removed all of my taping, the week 35 in September is clearly visible and it looks so good. For the following week, I decided to use a Dutch door spread so that I could put in 2 weeks with only one design, because I was getting really bored or really sick of drawing these flowers, because painting is fun, but sometimes it just takes too long and I was running out of time and I needed to be faster. So of course I used the same flowers, the same techniques as the week before, and I just drew everything out, leaving some space in the middle to write week 36 and 37 with a marker instead of with glue. And I was super happy with how the lettering turned out. I used a Tombow Dual Brush Pen to write it out, and it just looks very neat and tidy. Of course, then the next step is to grab my black pen and draw out all of my boxes for my weekly spreads, and I just love this square weekly box. I think it looks so nice. It fits everything that I need it to fit, and it's easy.
Now, because this spread is one that I do very often all the time, I'm not going to show you what I'm doing again because it's just very repetitive, so let's skip to the end of this weekly spread. So here's a quick cheeky TikTok transition. For my next weekly spreads, I also went for another Dutch door spread, but this time instead of having the flowers on the outside of the letters, I decided to put the flowers on the inside of the letters as I did in my monthly log at the beginning of this video. So to do this, I changed it around a little bit by using the glue instead of just freehanding it, because I thought it could be a little bit more interesting and might look a bit more cohesive that way. So what I did is I used my masking fluid first and I painted out all of the exteriors of the letters, and then I also did my weekly boxes. I drew out my weekly boxes because the glue was still drying, so I wanted everything to be done so that everything was just ready to go for when I was ready to paint. I really enjoyed this application process because having the masking fluid already down on my page meant that I have total freedom to paint my flowers however I wanted them to be, and on top of that I didn't have to worry about going over any lines because afterwards I would just remove the masking fluid. This meant that flowers could seamlessly cross over into different parts of the letter or into different letters altogether and still remain separate letters of the word. The masking fluid removal was obviously the most satisfying part of this process. Unfortunately for me, the masking fluid did rip apart some certain bits of my page, which was so annoying, but at least the letters look nice and you can see what words I'm trying to show. So here you can just enjoy a quick time lapse of me removing all the masking fluid, and I think the final effect looks very, very nice. My last spread for this month is my monthly review, and I just ditched all the painting. I tried to start with painting and I just ditched it and went with my Tombow Dual Brush Pen because I was just sick of painting at this point. I think I'll add the flowers maybe when I'm actually filling in my month review, because then the flowers can blend in with any of the text that I'm writing, but we'll see. Finally, the last thing I had to do was write out the names of my tabs. I didn't put any colors on my tabs this time because, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it. And I just used my Tombow Dual Brush Pen on the thin side to write out the names of each tab. And now we can move on to my final flip through. Let's start off this flip through with my beautiful cover page. And as you see, whilst we progress through this flip through, I end up going more heavy on the flowers instead of the leaves, which actually turns out quite nice anyway. My monthly log, my habits tracker, I think I'm not very happy with this. I might add in some leaves. Gratitude and 1 line a day. This is my favorite weekly spread with the flowers. Second one with the Dutch door, and then the third one with another Dutch door and the writing on the sides. And then of course, my month review. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and maybe leave a flower comment emoji in the comments below so that I know who got to this point in my video. And if you want to, maybe subscribe to my channel. Anyway, I will see you in another video every Mondays at 5 PM UTC+1 London Lisbon time, and I will see you soon. Bye!